Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
Some things just go together, like flowers and springtime, peanut butter and jelly, jam and toast, mac and cheese. I am getting hungry. Welcome to the Bible for Busy People. I'm Erica, your host, and this week we're studying some of the most bold prayers in the Bible. Because you know what? Being bold and being faithful, filled with faith, go together as well. Faith is defined in the dictionary as complete trust or confidence in something, or in our case, someone. And then being bold is defined as showing an ability to take risks, being confident and courageous. I want to be bold. I want to be full of faith. How about you? What do you say we take a little Masterclass? We're going to find today's bold prayer in Mark's Gospel, chapter 9. Our story begins in verse 14. But first, can we please do a little rewind? I want to go to earlier in the chapter and tell you what happened. It was what the Bible calls, are you ready for this? The Transfiguration, where Jesus was transformed in front of his disciples. Is he a transformer? No. But James and John and Peter on that mountain caught a glimpse of the glory of Jesus. They were familiar with his humanness. Jesus ate and slept, but they were catching a glimpse of the Son of God in this moment. And then a couple other guys showed up, Moses and Elijah. Can you imagine being Peter and James and John in these moments on the mountain where they're going, are we dead? That's what I would have thought, right? And all of a sudden there's a voice from the cloud that says, this is my dearly loved son. Listen to him. Wow. Remember last time when we met, we were studying Moses' bold prayer and how the cloud would descend on the tent and then Moses would go in and connect with God like friend to friend. What an amazing thing that was. And I always like to say, I am no theologian, but here's what I'm downloading as I marinate on this story. Remember, last time we read, it was just Moses who was able to talk with God friend to friend. But I think Jesus was showing us what it was going to be like for all of us by inviting Peter and James and John onto the mountain to hang out with Moses and Elijah. I think Jesus was giving us, yes, a glimpse of his glory through this story that Mark wrote down. Mark wrote that there was no bleach that could make clothes this white. Jesus was practically shining. That's what I picture every time I read this story. But perhaps Jesus was also giving us a glimpse of how our relationship with God was about to change, that we would all have the opportunity to become his friend. It's so touching. It's so beautiful. So that's what happened before this bold prayer story that you and I are about to dive into today. And I wanted to share it with you. I'm not sure why yet. Maybe we'll discover together. Okay, verse 14 now in Mark chapter 9. When they returned to the other disciples, this is Jesus and Peter and James and John, they saw a large crowd surrounding them, and some teachers of religious law were arguing with them. When the crowd saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with awe, and they ran to greet him. What is all this arguing about? Jesus asked. One of the men in the crowd spoke up and said, Teacher, I brought my son so you could heal him. He is possessed by an evil spirit that won't let him talk. And whenever this spirit seizes him, it throws him violently to the ground. Then he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. So I asked your disciples to cast out the evil spirit, but they couldn't do it. Jesus said to them, You faithless people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. So they brought the boy. But when the evil spirit saw Jesus, it threw the child into a violent convulsion, and he fell to the ground, writhing and foaming at the mouth. I want to pitch a small tent here and say, imagine being the father, the parent of this precious boy who was suffering, caught in the evil clutches of the enemy, probably hopeless. And yet This father knew who to go to. If you are feeling hopeless today, you can bring the thing to Jesus. You can say, "Teacher, I'm bringing this to you." This father knew what to do. Verse 21 now. "How long has this been happening?" Jesus asked the boy's father. He replied, "Since he was a little boy. The spirit often throws him into the fire or into water, trying to kill him. Have mercy on us and help us if you can." "What do you mean, if I can?" Jesus asked. "Anything is possible if a person believes." Woo! Hang your hat on those words. Anything is possible if a person believes. The father instantly cried out, "I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief." Oh, my friend, when you hear those words, do you just go, "That's me. I know he can do it, but I need help to really believe it." Verse 25 now. When Jesus saw that the crowd of onlookers was growing, he rebuked the evil spirit. "Listen, you spirit that makes this boy unable to hear and speak," he said. "I command you to come out of this child and never enter him again." Then the spirit screamed and threw the boy into another violent convulsion and left him. The boy appeared to be dead. A murmur ran through the crowd as people said, "He's dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and helped him to his feet, and he stood up. Okay, I paused this episode for just a moment so I could think about the link between the transfiguration and this dramatic healing. This is what I believe was just placed on my heart. Maybe God uses the mountaintop moments in our lives, the times we feel closest to him, to remind us that he's a mountain mover and that he so often uses our faith to move those mountains. So when Peter and James and John saw his glory on the mountain and came down and saw the boy writhing with that evil spirit lurking inside of him, maybe they thought, Jesus can do anything. We know who he is. Remember that the next time you're faced with a mountain in front of you that needs moving, like that father was. And it's okay to say, "Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief." You are really loved. Thank you for making time for the Bible for Busy People today. If being part of this community is a blessing to you, it's super easy to share this podcast with someone you love. We're all about spreading the hope of Jesus like butter. So if you've got a moment to write a review, boy, we'd really appreciate that. Maybe you need a little prayer today, or you're ready to take that next step with God. I invite you to check out our show notes. You're going to find lots of encouragement there. This podcast is one branch on a tree called Purposely, a podcast network designed with practical podcasts to help you find and thrive in God's purpose for your life. If you've got a pulse, you've got a purpose.